Are you ready to uncover the truths behind narcissistic parenting? Well, buckle up, because today I'm going to dive deep into the profound impacts that narcissistic parenting has on children and adult survivors. Welcome back to my channel. I appreciate you continuing to watch my videos. If you've ever felt like you're walking on eggshells around a parent, constantly seeking their approval and never getting it, well, you may have been raised by a narcissistic parent. I want you to picture a child just really craving love and attention and touching and just really healthy love, but yet they are met with abuse, neglect, manipulation. You can imagine that kind of childhood can leave some pretty deep scars. And that is what we're going to talk about today. So I'm going to review with you three things, 3 points we're going to go over today. And the first one is the emotional scars that are left behind from a child who was raised by a narcissistic parent and what that looks like in adulthood. The emotional scars that are left behind from narcissistic parenting is a lot of self-doubt, low self-esteem, and those scars leave a lot of self-doubt in an individual, and oftentimes it leaves them feeling like there's a fear of abandonment. And in a way, in a very real way, the narcissistic parent did abandon the child. They abandoned their responsibility to show love, affection, and attention to that child. So that child grew up with a lot of loneliness, a lot of fear, a lot of, they've got to be on their guard to know how to deal with this parent. It was always dodging bullets, as they say. It's like you had to sort of get in front of, knowing what that parent needed from you. And that's opposite of what should occur. It should be that the parent is worried about the child and making sure their needs are met. But in a narcissistic home where one of the parents or both of the parents are narcissistic, the child grew up feeling like they had to do whatever was necessary to please that parent, often neglecting their authentic self. Imagine what that's like to, want to maybe do ballet or want to play baseball, but your parent didn't want that for you. They wanted you to go into, painting or something because they have some unfulfilled artistic dream. Imagine what it's like to seek approval for, doing something in school that, maybe a good grade or, meeting a new friend. Well, the narcissistic parent doesn't see it that way. They see it as, oh no, this friend is going to take time away from this child who is really just narcissistic supply. You are there to please the parent, and having new friends is not necessarily going to resonate well with a parent who's narcissistic. They're going to see it as a threat, a direct threat to their ability to control you. For example, if you met a new friend at school and you want to go, over that person's house to spend some time there, well, the narcissistic parent is going to fear that you're going to share what happens in your home with them, or you might like that other parent more. There's all this unhealthy way of dealing with children with a narcissistic parent. And so you grow up never quite sure of what's going on. And you have been abandoned emotionally by that parent. So the deep emotional scars leave profound impacts when you go into relationships. And that's point number 2, which is from the perspective of a child raised by a narcissistic parent, and they have low self-esteem, a lot of self-doubt, they have a fear of abandonment. You can imagine that there's a lot of relationship struggles. That's point number 2. When you go into a relationship, you are really trying to constantly seek validation, and you are never quite sure of yourself, and you don't display a lot of self-confidence. And so you might end up in another abusive relationship because that's what you know. You go with what's familiar. And so those deep emotional scars lead to really unhealthy relationships. And I've often said that, and you can definitely disagree, but I've often thought that you attract what you think you deserve. And so you might find that you're in a relationship or relationships that are always unhealthy, chaotic, and confusing. And that's because that's what you grew up with. And so in my practice, I do one-on-one coaching, and I coach a lot of 50 and 60-year-olds who are still trying to figure out what happened to in their childhood. They're trying to figure out the dysfunction. But what I love about coaching these people is that when they come to me, they are really ready to figure out that dysfunction, which leads me to point number 3. Even though you have emotional scars and you have struggles in relationships, those struggles in relationships often eventually lead you to figuring out what the hell happened. So point number 3 is that there is a silver lining. The silver lining is that regardless of your childhood, just having an awareness to even watch this video means that your body and your mind are telling you something is very wrong. Something needs healing. Something needs to be fixed. There's some kind of brokenness within you. And I had that same discovery, not from childhood. I don't have a narcissistic parent, but I was in a narcissistic relationship. I have abandonment issues because my father left. And that emotional scar left me feeling very fearful of relationships. It left me feeling like I wasn't good enough. It left me feeling like, well, if my dad didn't want me, then, so you can kind of see the picture. I picked very unhealthy men to be around, and because that's what I thought I deserved. So when I went through a narcissistic relationship that lasted many years, I had to go through this healing as well, because I had to fix what was broken in me. My brokenness came from abandonment. Yours possibly came from a narcissistic parent. But what I've realized is that I get to choose my story. I get to choose how I live out the rest of my life. The narcissistic relationship isn't going to define my joy or define my happiness. I get to do that. But it all comes through, first, an awareness that something isn't working. And I decided a long time ago that I needed to figure out what was broken in me, because I never wanted to end up in another narcissistic relationship again. So I realized through that process and through my healing journey that I needed more self-worth. I needed to define and figure out my own self-worth. And you may need to do that as well. And if you're getting value out of this so far, give us a thumbs up and subscribe if you haven't already. And if you don't know, I've released a playbook, a narcissistic playbook. See, narcissists all play by the same playbook. So I had to write one for us in order to deal with them, because narcissists aren't just in our families. They're at our workplaces. They are our friends a lot of times. You've got to be able to spot a narcissist and know how to deal with them. So I wrote a playbook just for us, and you can download it in the link in the description below. So let's get back to the healing. So you have to figure out what your journey of healing looks like. It could involve going to therapy. I had to go to therapy. I had to work out the unhealthy patterns that were in my thought processes. I had to unlearn some bad information that I got in childhood just from, being abandoned by my dad. I had to unlearn, and I had to learn new behaviors and new thought processes. And so therapy was part of my journey. Journaling was also part of my journey. And when I started this company, my desire was always to help people heal from narcissistic abuse. So I've developed resources to help others. And that has also been very healing for me. I have a program called The Cracks Within Me, because I sort of put in one place everything I did to heal, even though at the time I didn't know that's what I was doing. I kind of put it all in one place for all of you to know how to heal those cracks within you. So that's why I named it that way, because we have cracks within us that we need healing. And so you can avail yourself of that from the description box below as well. I also do one-on-one coaching, and all of this was part of my healing. I don't know what your healing path will look like, but if you're on a journey to discovering that, I know that you're going to have a life of joy, a life of happiness, and just a life filled with being your authentic self. And that's the best gift that you can give to yourself. So I appreciate you staying here, and I hope that you will continue this journey and have much healing. Take care.